Welcome to the Lean In podcast, where we tackle life's curveballs with wisdom, a dash of humor, one laugh at a time. I am your host, Shiro Mwangi, and today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. We're talking about co-parenting. Co-parenting is when you find that parents are not living together, either by choice, maybe they have never lived together, or they lived together and then they separated through divorce, or they just decided to just live apart for a little bit. So co-parenting is when the parents come to an arrangement or an agreement on how they're going to raise the child or the children. Now, going back a little bit, it's a God-given responsibility to both parents to provide financially, spiritually, to really just be there to protect the children. And there are roles that parents, that for example, a mother can play that a father cannot be able to play. There are roles that a father can play that a mother cannot be able to play. I have been a single parent for the last 5 years, and I can tell you, there's so many things that I cannot be able to give my children that only a father or a male figure can be able to do. So a mother's role has always been known as loving, nurturing, teaching, discipline, but in a softer way. Traditionally, that's how it's been known. Not all parents are like that, however. And the dads are meant, or the fathers are meant to provide protection, to give spiritual guidance, to protect. They're usually the 5 P's. I can't remember all of them, but they know there's protect, priest, provide. So, for example, I have 2 boys and a girl. The role of a man or the role of a father, it is said that a father is a girl's first love. And nobody can show a boy how to love than the mother can. Also, as the kids grow older, it becomes very complex. There are things, there are conversations that they can have with one parent and they will not be able maybe to have with a parent of a different gender. So co-parenting takes a lot of emotional maturity, because, for example, in spaces where you find that parents are not living together because they have separated or they have gone through divorce, most of these spaces are not usually mutual. By the time it's getting there, it's not a happy space. By the time it's getting to separation and divorce and stuff like that, you find there's a lot of unhappiness, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of hatred. There are so many not very positive emotions that are involved in this process. But when you talk about co-parenting, it means putting aside all those emotions for the good of the child, deciding that how I feel about this person, I'm going to pack it, and I will still have conversations with this person no matter how badly they have hurt me, because I know it's important for my children. There are immaterial things that both parents will provide to the children. They're material things, obviously. Children will need school fees, shelter. They're the basics. They'll need to go to school. They need to dress. They need to eat. They need to take vacation or whatever. So those are basic material needs that parents need to provide for the children. But there are those other immaterial things that you cannot buy, things that money cannot buy. For example, if my daughter gets heartbroken, my presence, just being there and talking her through that process, that is something that you cannot buy and you cannot replace with anything. And as my kids have grown, I have 2 teenagers and a preteen. So as they have grown, it's become so real, the purpose of the different roles that both genders play. It is not easy, but But what this calls for is that you as a parent need to make sure that your feelings for your ex-partner or for the father of your children or for the mother of your children, whatever the case may be, your negative feelings, your anger, hatred, all those things that you are feeling about this person, you need to be sure that they are not greater than the love you feel for your children. The love you feel for your children needs to be so much such that it will help you put aside those, just pack them, compartmentalize. You're like, this is a compartment that I have with my ex. This is my children's compartment. And that means when it comes to my children, I'll be able to put that other not very nice compartment aside and focus on, I am doing this for my children. So what does this mean? Most of the time you find that you are so angry when you're leaving a relationship or when a relationship is ending, and sometimes one of the parties who maybe might feel like they're more aggrieved or they've been more hurt, they might end up using the children to hurt the other partner, and using in different ways. One can withhold access. So for example, the parent who is the sole custodian can decide, I am so angry at this person, they're never going to see these children. In that moment of anger, when you make that decision, you're making that decision not realizing what it's going to do to the children. Because there's a saying that when two bulls are fighting, the grass is the one that suffers. It sounds really nice in Kiswahili. Swahili or Kikuyu, one of the other. So it's like mbuzi, ng'ombe wawili wakipigana, nyasi ndio inaumia, or something like that. So when two bulls, and in this case the parents are the bulls, when they are fighting, the children are the ones who are suffering. So when you decide to withhold or to keep the children away from the other parent, you could, yes, be teaching this parent a lesson because they're suffering, especially if they really, really want to spend time with the children. But who is suffering is the children. The children get caught up in a space that they did not ask to be in because you chose your partner. The children did not choose their mother or their father. You chose your partner for them, and through the union that you ended up having, you brought children or a child into this world. And now you're using that child as a pawn to make sure that the other person hurts or feels as badly as you do. They will hurt. They might fight you in court or whatever, but the child is the one who ends up having parental baggage. The parent suffers because they will grow up without the presence of the other parent, and you might not be honest with the child, so you will not tell them, I have stopped the other parent from spending time with you. So the child will grow up feeling very rejected, dealing with feelings of rejection because in their mind, the other parent never wanted them. The other way that some parents will use children is by refusing to provide. So one parent is the sole custodian, the one who is supposed to maybe come and see the children. And remember what I said, it's legal and a God-given responsibility for both parents to provide for their children. Provide financially, spiritually, emotionally, make sure that they are feeling secure, that whatever happened between you two does not affect them. So their parent might decide, I will not provide for the children. And you're doing this thinking that you're punishing the parent who has ended up with the children. Because when divorce or separation comes, there's one parent who is the primary custodian, the other one might have visitation rights or has time to spend with the children. It could be 50-50 shared custody. And you find that in cases where you have one parent has is a primary custodian, the other parent refuses to provide. So what do? You could fight them in court. And then you find that you're spending a lot of energy fighting this person, trying to make them responsible. And the fact that they are doing it to try and teach you a lesson, not because they can't. So they actually end up winning. Again, who is losing? It's the children, because you're not able to give them the quality of life that they were used to prior to this whole situation. And they end up being very confused. So for example, I'm going to use an example of a divorce here. So before the divorce, the kids were going to X school. Suddenly, the parent who is the primary custodian cannot afford that school. So the kids end up being transferred to a school that is different from what they were used to. So the kids end up being very confused. They suffer, even their education could suffer. And if one parent is not able to provide the same quality of life, that means they have to downgrade the living standards. Again, the children are confused. Remember, the divorce has happened between the parents and not the children. And what I have just said, your love for the children should be greater than the feelings you have for your ex. So you should do everything within your power as a parent to ensure that you're protecting your children, you're assuring them, and they're very aware that what has happened between you as parents has nothing to do with them as children. That is your responsibility as a parent, to protect them, and that's one way of protecting them. So what I have found working in spaces where you find yourself in such a situation is having very open communication. And again, by the time you're communicating with somebody who really hurt you, or somebody who is looking at you as the aggressor, you really hurt them, because you could be the bad one. You could be the one who ended up breaking the relationship, and you expect to actually sit and have conversation with this person. It takes a lot of maturity. It takes a lot of intentionality, where you're saying, okay, we're going to have conversations, and these are our boundaries. When you're having these conversations, we're going to have conversation about schools, we're going to have conversation about the kids' needs, we're going to have conversation about their emotional needs, how are they doing. It will take a lot of intentionality. You have to be very well intended. You have to be very emotionally mature to be able to say, okay, this is my ex, he's in that box, and I am really upset with him or her, and these are my children, and we're gonna sit here and have conversations, like civil conversations about our children. So when that is present, communication, it makes this whole transition very easy. There's communication between the partners and communication between the children. What are you going to tell your children? How do you make them understand that the fact that the parents are not together does not mean that something is wrong with them? Because I've had cases where you find parents have separated and the kids are wondering, what did we do? Can we change? Did we behave badly? Are we the ones who caused these? The kids start blaming themselves. So how you communicate to them or with them, depending on whatever ages they are at, you have to communicate with them, meet them at their level, really determines how they survive the storm, how they survive the transition. Because we have seen a lot of homes today, most of the parents are not living together, but most of them are able to make it work such that they'll even have Sunday lunch together. I find that's amazing. You put your differences aside. You and I are not working. You and I might never work, but we are going to create an atmosphere for the children that is healthy for them to be able to thrive in and grow. On top of communication, by the time you're communicating with a person, on top of being emotionally very aware and all that, you need to have a lot of mutual respect. Respecting the other parent for who they are and for the value and the contribution they are playing in your children's life. Because both of you own these children 100%. So you need to be able to appreciate what the other partner is doing, the effort that he or she is putting to ensure that the children are thriving, the children are okay, the children are doing, their needs are met. And their needs are not only financial, their emotional needs are met, their psychological needs are met. For example, through the transition, did the kids need to see get support, mental support, like talk to a therapist or something like that? That's something that you both need to discuss and even maybe do it together. Again, it takes a lot of intentionality and a lot of maturity to be able to do that. A lot of compartmentalization. You have to compartmentalize the feelings to be able to do this for the children. And mutual respect means respecting each other's boundaries as well. If the children are at your place, you also need to be consistent. So communication, what rules are we applying? So that they don't go to mommy's house and because mom is trying to be the favorite parent, rules are not the same. They go to daddy's house, but because daddy is trying to overcompensate, the rules are not the same. So we have to respect the rules that we are setting for the children, respect each other, respect each other's spaces. Just because we are co-parenting, you can't just drop by any time. You can't just call me in the middle of the night. So we have to respect, have boundaries, and be very, very, very intentional as well. It also calls for a lot of flexibility. So for example, if this parent is supposed to spend this week with the children and that parent needs to travel for work, I will not say, you know what, it's not my week, you sort yourself out. So a lot of understanding, a lot of flexibility, but you can only do that if you're intentional. So to know, okay, so this parent is not here this week, they're traveling, so can we then swap? Or this Christmas, I would like to spend time with the kids because there's this amazing function. So can you maybe have them for this other holiday or something like that? You have to be flexible to be able to make it work. So there's the big decisions. Like a child is going to college. They need to change school, or they're going to high school or something like that. So how do you make these decisions jointly? Again, communication, mutual respect, a lot of intentionality, because you need to put your feelings aside and sit down and discuss. This is what's happening to our child. This is what we'll need in terms of finances. This is the kind of support he or she will need. Maybe the commute to school is longer. Who can drop him? Who can pick him? Who can drop her? Who can pick her? So again, flexibility and a lot of joint decision making. This can only happen if both parents are intentional, if both partners are intentional about making these co-parent situations work. Another thing that really, really works, and this is very important, especially at the beginning, when things are very tense, is having a parental agreement. This can be legal, or you both can actually just sit and agree to have a parental agreement. Like the parental agreement can just be, it's a guideline really. Like in terms of provision, the kids are spending a certain amount of money on food. School fees, how are we going to do that? Weekends, how are we going to do that? Holidays, how are we going to do that? Vacations, how are we going to do that? So the parental agreement serves as a guideline as to who does what. How do we meet each other in the middle? How do we ensure that our children's provision does not suffer? How do we ensure that our children's life, this lifestyle that we have given them, will be able to maintain it? So you can have that parental agreement that it sort of gives guardrails so that there are no gray areas. You know your responsibility, I know my responsibility, I know where we meet in the middle. And again, if maybe my situation changes, maybe if I don't have a job or whatever, then with the parental agreement, we're able to go like, okay, this is our guideline. I'm not able to meet my end of the deal. What do we do? Again, a lot of communication, intentionality, mutual respect, joint decision making. All these things go hand in hand to ensure the well-being of the child. So something else that we tend to forget, you get caught up with so many details of who's going to do what. We forget there's a child. There's a child who is so confused, or there are children who are so confused because life as they have known it, life as they had known it since they were born, has changed. Suddenly, they're not seeing mom and dad every day like they would. They're not hanging out with the both parents like they used to. So it's very important for both parents to communicate and to keep reinforcing the love they have for the children, and keep reminding them that what has happened has nothing to do with them. It's really not their fault, because you find kids carry a lot of weight, a lot of baggage. I've had kids asking, maybe my parents broke up because I was naughty, maybe I was bad. They're blaming themselves because you have not taken time to explain to them. And they don't need to know the full details, but as parents, you need to meet them at their level, explain to them that, our family dynamic has changed. Mom and dad are not going to be living together. This is the arrangement. This is what is going to happen. So that you're working with them and they're assured of both your love as parents. So you're not just telling them on a Monday morning, you're not coming back in the evening, you're going to dad's or you're going to mom's, and they're like, Allah. So you need to ensure that the kids understand the journey, the kids understand what has changed and how that change is going to impact them, how that change is going to impact the family and the new family dynamics. When it comes to stuff like school activities, it's very important for both parents to show up for the kids, because again, it does not matter. Remember what I said? Make sure that your love for your children is greater than your feeling for your partner, for your ex-partner. So show up for your child as and when you're needed. Getting professional support helps a lot, Because we're all human. By the time a marriage or a relationship is ending, there's a lot of negative and not very nice feelings. So it might even be very hard for you as a couple to actually sit down and have constructive conversation. So find a third party, find a mediator, find a therapist, figure it out. How are we going to work through our emotions and ensure that we are providing a healthy environment for our children. How are we going to show up for our children? So for example, some parents, a partner will move on. You need to have a conversation. If we are having this co-parent arrangement, at what point do you introduce your partner, your new partner, if you start dating, to your children? At what point do they start coming for school functions so that you're like 3 parents? At what point does it become a blended situation? So you need to have conversations with each other. You need to have conversations with the children. If the space or the situation changes, you need to be very candid with the children. Like, okay, so mommy has moved on. Mommy is seeing this person. This person is going to be in mom's life. And this is what it looks like. And this is what it means for the children. It's very, very important. However, be very careful before you introduce somebody to that picture, before you introduce somebody to your kids' lives, because every child is always hopeful that their mom and dad are going to get back together at some point. So you need to handle their feelings very delicately. You need to ensure, even as you're healing, you need to prioritize their feelings, and ensure that they're also healing with you. And they're also at a level or in a space where they're like, okay, maybe we can do this. Maybe we can deal with mom having a boyfriend, we can deal with dad having another woman in his life. So be very intentional about how you handle this co-parenting arrangement. Respect each other and respect the children as well. Listen to them. They might be young, but they have things to say. Find out, what does this transition, what does this new change mean for you? How do you feel about it? How can we make it easier for you? So listen to your children. Talk to them, not just telling them it has changed, but listen, pay attention. Find out, how has this change affected you? How is it affecting you? What can we as parents do to make it easier for you? But wherever you do, remember to always remind them it's not their fault. Remember to carry them through this whole process by being as open as you can, as is age appropriate for them. How I speak to my teenager is not the same way I'm going to speak to my preteen. The kind of transparency I will have with a young adult is not the same one I'll have with a preteen. And I think as I bring this to a close, I would like to encourage you, all of us, all of you who are in this a similar space. I know it's a very emotive space, but remember to always make sure that your love for your child is greater than the feelings you have for your ex. Thank you for tuning into this podcast. I encourage you to share your thoughts. Let me know what you are dealing with in this space of co-parenting. Let me know what is working for you. Let me know how you have made it work. Let me know what your struggles are. Let's share and grow with each other. Like, share, follow us on our social media handles. Thank you.